Hi there crew members, Starfleet personnel. Starting the video like this just so that you can get an idea of the absolute scale of these models. This model here is a 1/25th scale roughish model of the dorsal section of the original USS Enterprise, and this to my left here is a 1/100th scale finished version. So this is part of the finished 1/100th scale final build. So I'm building the entire ship at this scale, this will then serve as a blueprint to build the entire ship at this scale. So let's get straight into it. So just a quick recap of this 1/100th scale. There's our two crew members and a Panton chair, and the different levels of this dorsal. They're the main turbo, elevator, turbo lift, travelling up to deck 8. We have the lounge area here, the observation lounge, with a crew member getting some refreshments from the replicator right there. Up on the next deck we have crew members making their way to the turbo lift. Further down, a few more observation areas with stairways down to different levels, lounge areas here and here, and then service machinery down here. Okay, so that's the 1/100th scale dorsal section. Just show you around the other side. So I've put some of the hull plating on there, very nice and smooth. And on the wall here is the beginning of the layout of the saucer section of that 1/100th scale, and I'm just working out where impulse engineering is going to go in that. Okay, so that's that. Now let's get to this beast here. This is not as finished as the 1/100 scale, and the reason I built this is I really just wanted to show you the size of the 1/25th scale. So I'm just going to take you around, handheld tour to the other side. So like the 1/100 scale, I built some of the hull plating on the outside, including the windows, so you can get a real feel for that dorsal section. Going all the way down to the secondary hull strongback here, and in a moment I'm going to play a video clip of this thing landing on a planet's surface, because I've had some feedback or some comments on other platforms kind of stating that this is the third landing leg of the saucer section. If the saucer section had to make like an emergency landing on a planet, that the dorsal would serve as a third landing leg. I'm sorry folks, I just can't go with that. This is a 7-story building. This is the size of a 7-story building. It's not a landing leg. So just at the top of the dorsal now on deck 8, and in a moment over there in the corner you can see the 1/25th scale of impulse engineering, and I'm going to place that on top of this in a moment so that you can see how impulse engineering interacts with the dorsal. There's the turbo lift that will travel down from deck 8 dorsal all the way down to deck 24 in the secondary hull, the hull bottom. Let's just come around here. There's the long corridor section on the dorsal deck 8, leading to the turbo elevator. And these enormous structures here that you can see, I built these last night. These are the connectors which secure the dorsal section onto the saucer section. Now these are absolutely enormous. These are 2 decks high. So there is deck 8. This would be deck 7, and this would be deck 6. So these enormous connection structures, they're 2 decks high, super strong. In one of the previous videos where I featured the 1/100th scale dorsal section, one of the comments said, "Hey, why not fit like a photon torpedo bay in the back of the dorsal, so that the Enterprise can fire photon torpedoes out the back?" And I thought that was a pretty cool idea, so I built this into the base of the dorsal. So this is deck 14 of the dorsal. This is the photon torpedo generator firing out condensed energy through here out the back of the dorsal. Now this is just an idea. It's not, you know, I'm not saying this is it, this is how it's going to be. It's just an idea. Let me know what you think in the comments section about this. And you know, I know a lot of people will come in saying, "Hey, look, we never saw the Enterprise firing photon torpedoes out of the back," and "Hey, this isn't canon. This isn't in the blueprints." But just let's think about it. Let's just be a little bit creative and just have a bit of fun, because maybe in the 4th year of the Enterprise's mission, maybe Scotty said, "Hey man, we're getting into some situations out there. We need to be able to fire out the back as well. Let's do an update." So maybe it just called into a starbase and had an update and put a little bit more weaponry into the ship. So again, this is a really enormous room. So it spans several decks. There's one of our female crew members, could be Yeoman Rand, standing on the platform there. I also had an idea that crew members could take rest down here and even sleep down here if there was nothing going on. So I built 2 bunks into this section. So we go up the stairs here through into this area, and like I say, this is not a finished model. It's just kind of like it's just a random kind of 3D sketch that I did, if you can call it a sketch. I mean, seriously, folks, I could spend a month on this, creating a very highly finished version of this. But I really want to get into the 1/100th scale to build the entire ship, because we are actually in the final build stage now. As of the 1st of March, the 1/100th scale model here on the table is part of that final build. And as I said at the beginning of this video, this will serve as an absolute blueprint to scale up to the 1/25th scale. Here we see the enormous towering structure of the turbo lift shaft, travelling down all the way down into the strongback. There's a view into the secondary hull strongback with the turbo elevator shaft passing down into the secondary hull, and also my idea of these service elevators, these service lifts in the dorsal that exclusively service the dorsal, so they don't go anywhere else apart from the dorsal. And there's our crewman in one of those service lifts. So my idea with this is that these service lifts keep the main turbo lift clear. And you know, I just love this ship. There's something about this ship because it's huge. I mean, when we see this dorsal section here, what we're essentially looking at, I mean, it's super thin, but it's kind of, you know, it's as wide as one of our biggest submarines at the moment. So what we're looking at here is a 7-level submarine environment. Okay, but then as we stood here, we've got the entire secondary hull all the way down here, which is enormous, and then all the way up to the saucer section, which is absolutely huge. A huge ship travelling up. Now, clearly these areas, I've not done anything in these areas, like in the 1/100th scale. I've just put a few Panton chairs in here, a briefing room table, and a crewman with a view screen there, an information screen there. And you know, my idea is that, you know, this could be like an epic briefing room, and then below here you would have like lounge areas, as we just saw in the 1/100th scale. So there's actually a lot going on in this dorsal. Briefing rooms, lounge areas, machinery rooms, the aft photon torpedo launcher. Just a point about this torpedo launcher, because I know in the comment section, if I don't say this, comments are going to come in saying, where are the photon torpedo caskets stored? And you know something? Whenever I saw the original series and the Enterprise fired its photon torpedoes, I always had the impression that that was just energy coming out, like condensed energy. I really didn't like this kind of thing in the movies where they turned it into like a casket that was fired out containing that energy. To me, the photon torpedoes are like bundles of like highly condensed energy which disperse on contact with the target. So that's what this thing is here. It's just generating high levels of photon torpedo energy. And that's it. Okay, here's the clip of the dorsal section landing, and we've got 3 crew members standing in front of this as it's lowering down onto the planet. And you know, again, let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you agree with me that this is kind of a little bit too much to have the idea that this dorsal section is a landing leg? A 7-story building as a landing leg. I honestly don't even go with the idea that the saucer section lands in an emergency. I really don't. I would definitely rather go with the idea of escape pods or something. All of this is made of cardboard in these 1/25th scale rough models, but in the finished model, and even in this 1/100th scale model, different materials are going to be used. So in this 1/100th scale model here that you can see, I'm using MDF, super thin MDF, and plastic and high quality architect modelling board. The base here of the saucer section, this is thin MDF, which will be supported by wood strips and also metal. Because even though this is the 1/100th scale and not the 1/25th scale, this is also going to be massive. It's a huge, epic model. Now I'm going to put the engineering model on top of this large scale model, so you can see how impulse engineering works with the dorsal. Again, looking down the corridor, the long corridor of deck 8, we're going to rise up through those connectors and over into impulse engineering. Right there, the familiar environment of impulse engineering at the back of the saucer section. So we know that impulse engineering is 2 levels. So the floor is deck 7, and then we're moving up to deck 6 here. And we can see that those connectors here are coming up just below the level of deck 6. So this is crazy, folks. Nobody else on the planet is building this. The entire original USS Enterprise in 1/25th scale. Let's just move in past those giant connectors and just take a peek inside that familiar environment of impulse engineering. There, pulling out, we'll look through that awesome original series Enterprise interior red mesh down onto the dilithium processors in engineering, and maybe if we come around we could even take a peek from what would be behind the scenes. As always, I hope the video finds you well. Please do subscribe to the channel, give the video a like. It helps the project a ton. It really does. Thank you to the patrons who continue to support this project. Seriously, without you folk, I wouldn't be able to do this. I really wouldn't. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your support. And I'll see you soon with the next video. Bye for now.